Terminator Dark Fate is. Hello, welcome to Just My Thoughts. I'm your host, Khaleel Ward. And on this episode, I'll be talking about Terminator Dark Fate. Yes, another Terminator movie. This time is directed by Tim Miller, the guy who directed Deadpool. And this is supposed to be the sequel to Terminator 2. The other Terminator movies don't really matter at all. Terminator 3, the other one with Christian Bale, none of those matter. And this one feels more like Terminator 1 and 2. You get a brief glimpse into the future, what happens, with the robots and everything, but it's mostly in the present day. It starts out with Sarah Connor's interview, I guess, from Terminator 2 when she's talking to the doctors and she's letting them know that Judgment Day is coming. She's letting them know when it's coming. And then you get a voiceover from Sarah Connor. It picks up in Mexico City with this young lady named Dani. She's played by Natalie Reyes. And she's just a normal kid. But you could tell early on that she demands respect and she holds people accountable and she looks out for people. She brings food for her family and she makes sure her brother gets up, goes to work. She tells her father to, do some stuff. She's just the person in charge of the household, essentially. And then you have the introduction of what is, you can say, like the new Arnold Schwarzenegger. Her name is Grace. I'll get into her later. She comes, she does the whole come in a bubble naked type thing, and, get some clothes. But she's the good guy, essentially. Then you have the bad guy. He's a Rev 9. That's the model he is. Whatever that means, but he's a Rev 9. He's the new Terminator. They give him a little more personality compared to the other Terminators. He talks a little bit. He cracks like a joke or two, and he's just connected to the internet. That's what makes him really, really different. This time around, there's social media. There's just ways of connecting to people. So he's always connected to satellites, to everything, and that's how he hunts the target, Dani. He wants to kill Dani. He doesn't really give an explanation why. He just wants to kill him. His other abilities include splitting into two, where he can take his body and like split it, and it's another robot, a fully functioning robot that can just do things by itself. He also, like, when you stab him with stuff, he can make his body like just absorb whatever he's being stabbed with, and then he can just like bring it into his body. So that makes him different. He's really deadly. He kills a lot of people, and it's cool watching him kill people. You also have Sarah Connor, of course. She shows up to help out Grace and Dani. And since Terminator 2, she's been getting these numbers for coordinates, and she goes on the hunt for Terminators. She hunts Terminators, basically. She gets a coordinate, she goes to it, the Terminator appears naked or whatever, she kills it. And I don't know how, I guess she's been doing it since the end of Terminator 2. She had a little breakdown, which you'll see in the movie. Don't want to spoil that. And then you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who shows up again in the movie. He's from the past, he's from the future, and something happens to him and he becomes, I guess you could say, domesticated. Again, I'll let you watch the movie and see that. So these are the main characters of the film. And going back to Grace, she's human, but she's augmented. And that's how they make the change from sending just another robot back to protect someone. They send a human back. And in the sequences where they show the future, you understand where Grace is coming from and why she's on this mission. And it's really cool. It's a good story. It's a good backstory for her. And, she's pretty cool, but she has her limits. Like, she can fight, but she says something about like she's only programmed to fight for a certain amount of time, in quick bursts. Get in, get out, essentially. Kill the Terminator really quick, get out. Because then she starts to falter and, she runs out of juice, essentially. And it plays a part in the movie a lot because she can't always go full throttle against the Terminator because she needs meds so she can get her energy back. And that's really cool. Again, it reminds you of Terminator 1 and 2. It just feels like that. It takes some risks, but not a lot. Like, Dani feels like the new Sarah Connor. You see her growth and character development throughout the film. She starts off really, like I said, she's really helpful and she's strong in that regard with her family and stuff like that. And once someone is trying to kill her, she's like a little scared, she's hesitant. But then as the movie goes on, you see her develop that backbone and that strength that Sarah Connor displayed in Terminator 1, when she was all discombobulated at first, and then, she stepped up, and then you seen where she was in Terminator 2. She was deadly. And that's how Dani progresses in this movie. Grace is cool. Again, she's human, so she can portray the human emotions way better than Schwarzenegger did in Terminator 1 and 2. So she has a connection, even with Sarah Connor, who she doesn't get along with at first because Sarah Connor thinks she's a robot. But she has a great connection with Dani. And it's just fun watching these characters. The characters are fun. And I think that's something that the other Terminator movies missed out on. Like the characters weren't fun. You didn't really care about anybody but the Terminator because the Terminator was going to do something cool. And in this one, it's a good experience watching them go through it. And I enjoyed the movie. I think you should check it out. I know, don't be scared because it's another Terminator movie and the other ones were pretty bad, but this one is really good. Some dialogue issues, they try to throw in Dark Fate a lot. They try to throw in the word fate a lot to try to say the title of the movie. But you will have questions like, where does it go next? And that's the biggest question I have. Like, where does this movie go? If it makes enough money for a sequel, what story do they tell next? Because it essentially seems like it's kind of the same story being woven together. You go back to the past to kill the Terminator that's sent from the future, but essentially it seems like Judgment Day happens anyway in all these movies. So I wonder where the next movie would take it. But go see Terminator Dark Fate. I recommend going and see it. It's an enjoyable experience, about 2 hours. I think you'll have a good time. But if you have seen the movie, let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for listening. Deuces.